What's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, November the 1st, the first of the month, and we got a big 13-game schedule. As usual, we're going to break every single game down. I'm going to go through my thought process, give you guys my insight and my picks for every single game. I know with a 13-game schedule, the video does have the possibility of being long. I'm going to try to be as brief as I can, since I know your guys' attention spans are not that high, and of course, I don't blame you. You guys got a lot of stuff to do during the day, so bear with me. I'm going to try to make this video as short as I can. Before we get started, guys, help this guy out right here by liking the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I think I got some pretty good info here. Not just picks, guys. I think that's the least of what I try to do here. I try to give you guys the correct way to approach this, getting your thought process, your mindset, thinking the correct way when handicapping these games. At least as far as I'm concerned, this is what I've been doing for over 20 years. I think I found a pretty good formula on how to approach this sports betting. I'm going to try to help you guys out to become a little more independent in your decision making when handicapping these games. And now, with all this being said, let's get right into the action. 13 games, like I said, lots of stuff to go through. Let's go. In our first game of the night, we got the Portland Trailblazers in Detroit taking on the Pistons. The Pistons, 3.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 5. Portland, 1-3 to start their season. Finally got on the board with a really nice win in Toronto in their last game. 1-3 so far. It was a tough spot for the Blazers. They were on the second night of a back-to-back. Things did not look that great, but they hung in there, showed a lot of grit, played a very nice ball game. In the second half, distanced themselves from the Raptors, picked up a nice 8-point W. Scoot Henderson, slowly but surely, he is getting there. The rookie point guard for the Trailblazers is playing a lot better. And guys, Portland, when you have a player with the caliber of Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench, you can't be that bad. The Portland Trailblazers, guys, I do expect them to pick it up in the coming games. This is the last game of a short little 3-game trip. Could be a little tricky spot. Let's see what they can do in this ball game. The Pistons, 3.5-point favorites. They're coming off a loss at Oklahoma, where they pretty much lost wire to wire. Oklahoma City jumped on them from the start, held on until the very end. The Pistons, 2-2 now on the season, have been playing pretty good overall. But at the last couple of games, they are showing a few signs of a possible downtrend coming. In this spot, I'm going to take the Blazers here with the plus 3.5. I think they can carry on from their win in Toronto. Like I said, Scoot Henderson is playing better. I kind of like him here. Let's take Portland with the plus 3.5. Up next, we got Milwaukee at Toronto. The Bucks, 5.5-point road favorites. I had them favored by 5. The Bucks, 2-1 on their season, bounced back after that huge blowout loss at home to the Atlanta Hawks. Came back with a nice 8-point win against the Miami Heat. Damian Lillard bounced back from that poor performance against the Hawks. He had 25 in that game. Giannis scored 33. Bucks looked decent in that ball game. The Raptors, 1-2 on their season so far. The Raptors, a loss at home in their last ball game to the Portland Trailblazers. The Blazers, who were on the second night of back-to-back, looked like a nice spot for the Raptors to get a W. They did not perform well. They played down to the competition. 8-point loss at home for the Raptors. They are definitely in a downtrend. What to take note of here, guys, before we get to our pick in this game, is the Raptors and their ball games. Very low-scoring ball games. They're not scoring a lot. They're holding their opponents to a minimum amount of points. If you look at their 3 games so far this season, they have been low-scoring. They put up 103, 107, and 91 points in their games, while not giving up too many. The Raptors involved in some low-scoring ball games. In this game, guys, it is tough to take the Bucks still, because I still do believe that they need a couple of weeks to get that chemistry going. It's going to take a little bit of time. They could very well go into Toronto and blow them out, even though the Raptors historically do tend to perform well against the Bucks at home. What I'm going to go with in this game, guys, is going to be a play with the under 224.5. I think these low-scoring games, we are seeing a pattern here with the Raptors. Bucks, first game on the road. You never know what you're going to get. Still early in the season, guys. Let's go with the under in this ball game. I think it has a good shot at coming through. Up next, Washington at Atlanta. The Hawks, 8.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 9. Talk about the Wizards first. 1-2 on their season. Their sole win coming against the Grizzlies. Got a couple of blowout losses to the Pacers and the Celtics, the team that is projected to finish last in the East. I think they're not going to disappoint. They are going to finish last. What they're showing on the court is not very good, guys. A lot of up-tempo basketball, but the talent level is really low. I don't think they can support this style of play. It won't result in too many W's. The Hawks have won 2 straight. They followed up their huge win, very impressive win in Milwaukee with another big win at home against the Timberwolves in a crazy game, guys. They fell down by like 20 points to the Timberwolves. In the second half, they were down by 21. I saw around the 8-minute mark. And then all of a sudden, the tide just turned. And the Hawks just went absolutely berserk. A big 40-point swing, guys. They managed to turn that game around, blow it out, win by 20. Actually by 14, 127 to 113. They were down by 21. We're talking about a 35-point swing in that game. Very impressive for the Hawks. Take a look at the injury front, some important stuff that we need to look at. The Hawks, Trae Young is listed as questionable with a sore Achilles. We got to monitor his status. Obviously, the best player on the Hawks. Very important to see if he's in or out. And also an extremely important player for the Wizards, guys, Daniel Gafford. He missed out in the game against the Celtics. His absence totally showed. They had nothing down on under the basket. The Wizards struggled pretty much in all aspects in that game. We got to check his status, see if he's going to be in or out. In this ball game, guys, I can go no other way than the Hawks here in the -8.5. This is just for the video's sake. We do have to wait and see what Trae Young's status is going to be. If he doesn't play, this line obviously is going to drop probably a 1.5, maybe 2 points. See what Gafford does. Possibly we can get a better line with the Hawks here. I'm going to like the Hawks in either way. Trae Young in or out, Daniel Gafford in or out. I'm still looking to take the Hawks in this game. The number is the most important thing. We have to wait and see what it's going to look like when we get confirmation for these 2 players. Hawks to win this game. For the video's sake, -8.5. We're going to be hunting for a better number, though, later on, closer towards tip-off. Up next, we got Indiana at Boston taking on the Celtics. Celtics 11.5-point home favorites. Currently, I had them favored by 8. We see a big difference, my line estimate with the actual line. We're going to have to look into that a little more, find the reasoning behind this. But first, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers started out their season 2-1. They're 2-1. Won their first 2. Dropped their last one at home to the Chicago Bulls. A game that was going back and forth between the 2 teams. Chicago made the big plays at the end. Gave the Pacers their first loss of the season. More bad news despite the loss. If you look at the injury report, the reasoning I think behind this line is right here. Benedict Mathurin, the second-year star player for the Pacers, listed as questionable with an elbow injury. Tyrese Halliburton, the top player for the Indiana Pacers, also on the injury report, listed as questionable with an ankle injury. Of course, we have to figure out these 2 guys' status before putting any wagers on this game. If they don't play, the level is definitely going to drop for the Pacers. The Celtics 3-0 to start their season. Keep going from win to win. In their last game, big blowout win on the road against the Wizards. Left no doubt in that ball game from the start. In the first half, I think they got a 30-point lead. Never looked back. Celtics playing fantastic. 3-0 to start their season. Now, how am I going to approach this game, guys? Obviously, while I'm recording this video, I mentioned Halliburton and Mathurin listed as questionable. I think in spots like this, things can get a little sloppy, and teams might not focus too much on the defensive end. The guys coming in like Buddy Hield, they don't play any defense. They like to shoot a lot of threes. If they get a lot more time, I think this could be a very high-scoring affair. These 2 teams, they score a lot of points in general anyways. I think if Halliburton and Mathurin sit, might even add a little more fuel to the fire here. In this game, guys, I'm going to take a play with the over 231.5. I'm not going to take a play on the Celtics. I hate playing betting against teams that are missing star players. It's always a recipe for disaster. I'm going to stay here with the total play, and the over 231.5 I think has a good shot at coming through. Up next, Brooklyn at Miami. Miami 6.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 5. Let's talk about the Nets first, guys. 1-2 so far this season. A record that could very easily have been 3-0. The Nets lost a couple of really tight ones in their home opener to the Cavs and one in Dallas. Don't perform well when the game is close. They left no doubt in their last game against Charlotte. A wire-to-wire win, won that game by double digits. Comfortably played very well. On the injury front, guys, some bad news for the Nets. We see a bunch of players out here. Cam Johnson, Dennis Smith Jr. listed as doubtful. Claxton still out. Spencer Dinwiddie added to that list with an ankle injury. He sprained his ankle in the game against Charlotte, listed as doubtful. they're going to be missing quite a few bodies in this game. I think the reason for this line over here, I had it estimated at 5. We see it at 6.5. Talk about Miami, another very disappointing team. Pretty much expected for the Miami Heat in the regular season, guys. They are a team that very hard to handicap. You never know who's going to show up. They're 1-3 in their last ball game. Lost to the Milwaukee Bucks on the road. Were losing from the start. Made a little bit of a run at the end. Fell short by 8 in that ball game. Another loss for Miami, 1-3. Looking at their injury report, they were missing Bam Adebayo in that game. For tonight's ball game, he is listed as probable. He should be in the lineup. Caleb Barton's still out, and we see Jimmy Butler here, guys. The usual suspect for load management, some weird injuries. I can't really understand this guy. This really is a guy that just wants to play in the playoffs, skip the regular season. If he could altogether, he would. He's listed as questionable here. 6.5 points, guys. Miami is due for a win, guys, but who can lay these many points on the Miami Heat? I definitely cannot. Even though the Nets are missing a bunch of players, I think they still have enough to go in there and cover this spread. I'm going to take him here with the plus 6.5. I will most likely stay away from this game. I hate betting on Miami Heat games in general, and especially if we have this much movement on the injury report. This looks like a recipe for disaster. But for you guys that want to action in this game, I think the best side would be Brooklyn and the plus 6.5. Up next, we got Cleveland at New York, Madison Square Garden taking on the Knicks. The Knicks currently 6.5 point home favorites. I had them favored by 4.5. These two teams played against each other just yesterday. The Knicks, big 18-point win, took advantage of all the injuries that the Cavs have had at the start of this regular season, left no room for doubt, took a big lead at the beginning, held on till the very end, won that game by 18. The Cavs 1-3 on their season so far. They won their opener against the Nets, have dropped 3 straight. The injury report is what we need to look at when handicapping the Cleveland Cavs. And I see here Karis LeVert, Darius Garland, Jarrett Allen, all listed as questionable for tonight. We got to wait and see, guys, if they're going to be in or out of this ball game. The Knicks, 2-2 on their season, been playing pretty solid. The Knicks of last year, guys, is pretty much is what we're getting so far. The 2 losses, some tough spots for the Knicks. Overall, they've been playing pretty solid. 6.5 point favorites here at home. They did win yesterday. They do have the advantage in tonight's ball game. But guys, in this game, the most important thing, like I said, is to see what's going on with the Cavs and their roster. To be honest, guys, I'm going to look for the Knicks to repeat their performance from yesterday. Hopefully, these players get ruled in. They're not going to be sharp, guys. They've been out for a while. I expect the Knicks to capitalize. I hope they play. We'll get a shorter number for the Knicks. My play is going to be on the Knicks. I put a little question mark here because I don't know what the number is going to look like. But I like them to double up their wins, follow up what they did yesterday in Cleveland, get another win tonight. Let's see what the final number looks like. I am leaning, though, with the play on New York in this game. Up next, New Orleans at OKC. The Thunder favored by 3.5 currently in this game. I had them favored by 3. The Pelicans 2-1 to start their season. Played a couple of really nice games to start off. Got a couple of nice W's, and then in their last game, guys, they just got absolutely obliterated at home by the Golden State Warriors. Everything looked ideal for the Pelicans. They were catching the Warriors on the second night of back-to-back. But damn, what a beatdown. They lost by 20 in that game. Granted, they did play without Brandon Ingram. A surprise last minute. He got ruled out with an injury. Tonight, he is listed as questionable for this ball game. Of course, Brandon Ingram, one of the big 3 for the Pelicans, a very important player for New Orleans in this game. The Thunder, 3-1 to start their season, playing fantastic so far, guys. If you take away the big blowout loss at home to the Denver Nuggets, which is nothing to be ashamed of, guys. The Nuggets are steamrolling through all their opponents. They've won 3 games. 3-1, not too shabby for the Oklahoma City Thunder, the up-and-coming Thunder, who will, I'm almost certain they're going to make the playoffs this year. You never know, guys. We might get some surprises from the Thunder. In tonight's ball game, on the injury report, it looks clean. Everyone that was playing in the previous games is expected again to play tonight. In this ball game, guys, I'm favoring a play here with the Oklahoma City Thunder at -3.5. We got to see if Ingram, though, plays. If he plays, this line, it should drop about half point, a point. We might get the Thunder here with the -2.5, a little better. In any case, I'm still looking to take the Thunder here. Even the 3.5, just fine for me. I think they win this game and win it comfortably. Up next, Charlotte at Houston. The Rockets, 2.5 point home favorites. I had them favored by 3.5. The Hornets 1-2 to start their season. The Hornets, they won their opener against the Hawks, dropped 2 straight. Their last one, lost by 12 to the Brooklyn Nets, a wire-to-wire loss. They gave up 133 points in that game. The Hornets, guys, we know, like to get up and down the court. They'll score a bunch, they'll give up a bunch. Very erratic ball club. The Rockets 0-3 to start their season. Ime Udoka, it's going to take him a little bit of time. We've talked about the Houston Rockets, guys, for them to shake those losing habits, to get the veterans to mesh with the young guys. It's going to take a little bit of time. They are struggling. After their big blowout loss in their opener to Orlando, in the last couple of games, they have shown some signs. They're starting to get they're starting to put things a little bit together. But, guys, I'm still not quite sure here. The number is a little bit low. As you can see, it's a point lower than what my estimate is. A lot of people are going to be chasing the Rockets, saying they are due to get a win. I'm not convinced, guys. The Hornets, ever since the post-James Harden era, have performed well in Houston. I'm going to take them here tonight, guys. I'm going to take the Hornets here with the +2.5. Go against the tide a little bit. I think Houston is going to be a popular bet in this game. The line is low. Books look like they are willing to take action on this -2.5. Let's take a shot with Charlotte and the points in this game. Up next, Denver at Minnesota taking on the Timberwolves. The Nuggets currently 3.5-point road favorites. I had them favored by 3. A rematch of last year's first round in the Western Conference playoffs. A very entertaining playoff series. I loved watching the games between these two teams. This should also be a very entertaining matchup tonight. The Nuggets 4-0 to start their season. The momentum has carried over, guys, from last year's championship run. They're playing fantastic basketball. Nobody's injured. Everybody's healthy and playing. The Nuggets, guys, what can you say? Definitely on an uptrend. The Timberwolves, guys, on the other hand, have not started off this season playing that well. They lost their opener in Toronto in a really bad performance. In their second game, they got a win. They happened to catch Miami on the second night of back-to-back playing without Jimmy Butler. They got a win in that game. And in their last one, guys, what an absolute disappointment. They were up by 20 in Atlanta in the second half, and the Hawks just completely turned things around. A big 40-point swing. They ended up losing that game by 14. Just an absolute disappointment. Usually, guys, in spots like this, when we see the Nuggets on one hand, definitely uptrending, playing great. The Timberwolves coming off a disappointing loss. Usually in these spots, I do like to take the team that's not playing well. In this case, the Timberwolves with the +3.5, but it is scary, man. I'm having trouble pushing that button on taking on the Timberwolves. If I had to pick a side here, guys, I would go with Minnesota here. It is a bit scary. I know it's hard to bet against the defending champs. What I'm going to do in this ball game, guys, is I'm going to do a player prop here. I'm going to go with Ant-Man Anthony Edwards to score over 24.5 points. He's going to be pumped for this ball game, guys, for sure. And if you remember in last year's playoffs, he was going absolutely crazy on the Nuggets. I think he's going to be pumped in this game. Plus, the fact that I believe that the Timberwolves will perform well in this ball game. They will show up against the defending champs. I like Edwards to have a big game. 24.5 points is my prediction in this ball game. Up next, Chicago and Dallas taking on the Mavs. The Mavs, 5.5-point home favorites currently. I had them also favored by 5.5. The Bulls, talk about them first. 2-2 on their season so far. Wins against the Raptors and the Pacers. More specifically against the Pacers in their last game on the road. A tough place for any team in the NBA to get a win. The Bulls went in there and did just that. A very impressive 7-point win. The Bulls, guys, let's not beat around the bush. A team with very limited talent. They didn't do much in the offseason. They kept the same team, the same core from last year. A team that finished in the middle of the Eastern Conference. I expect them to finish somewhere around there again, mid to bottom. They might miss out on the playoffs once again. A team, like I said, with very limited talent. The Mavericks, on the other hand, full of talent. They've started out their season 3-0. Luka has been going absolutely fucking berserk, playing at a level. He's the top. He's the front runner as of now for the MVP. He's putting up some huge numbers. Guys, I hate to say this, but the Mavs, in their last ball game against Memphis, they won that game by 15 on the road. They were without Kyrie. For some reason, guys, I think they look a little bit sharper without Kyrie in the lineup. I hate to say this. We're going to have to see how this thing plays out, how they go forward. If he doesn't get acclimated to the team, he was with the team from last year's, from the trade deadline. So far, the chemistry just has not been there between him and Luka. We're going to have to see what's going to go on with the Mavs. In this ballgame, guys, he's listed as questionable with a sore foot. I expect him to miss out again, and if he does, which I expect him to miss out, I'm going to take a play here with Dallas and the -5.5. They look sharp, guys. They look sharp without Kyrie. I think they could do the damage again today. Like I said, the Bulls, not that much talent on that team. They're capable, guys, on any given night. Any team in the NBA, of course, is capable of doing damage on any given night. I like the Mavs here, though, with the -5.5. Up next, Memphis at Utah taking on the Jazz. The Jazz currently 2.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 4. We see a little bit of discrepancy, a 1.5-point difference between my line and the actual line. Let's see what's up in this ball game. First, let's talk about Memphis. 0-4 to start their season, guys. A team that I thought would come out of the West and just completely underperformed to start this year. Of course, we all know they're going through a ton of injuries, and the suspension to Ja have not had a lot of capable bodies available. Let's see on the injury report, guys, if they're going to be getting anybody back. I know Aldama and Luke Kennard were listed as questionable. What I see here, Luke Kennard is not on the injury report. He should be coming back. That's good. Some reinforcements. He should take his role again off the bench. The perimeter player hits the lefty, can hit a bunch of threes. It's always valuable to get players back. Santi Aldama still listed as out. He will be important in the future, coming off the bench for the Grizzlies. They still don't have him available. 0-4 for the Grizzlies. The Jazz 1-3 to start their season, guys, but I can't say this record is all that bad. If you look at the scheduling, it's been pretty brutal for the Jazz to start out. A loss in their opener to the Sacramento Kings, nothing to be ashamed of. They beat the Clippers, very big win at home. They won that game by a couple points. And then a couple of road losses to Phoenix and Denver, nothing to be ashamed of for the Utah Jazz. This 2.5-point line, though, guys, is a little low. And as much as I hate betting against teams that are on streaks, either winning streaks or losing streaks, and what I mean by that is betting against them. Over here, Memphis lost 4 straight. Usually I don't like betting on the team to break out of that. But in this spot, guys, I see a 1.5-point difference. It looks like the books are inviting money here with Utah. Of course, everything points to a Utah win, but I think Memphis could get on the board here. I'm going to take my chances here, guys, with the +2.5. I know it's a dangerous play. I wouldn't blame you guys if you didn't follow, but I kind of like him here. +2.5 is my play in this game. Up next, Sacramento at Golden State. The Warriors currently 7.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 6.5. Let's talk about the Sacramento Kings first. 2-1 on their season. A team, guys, that we know is a very up-tempo run-and-gun team. And in their last game, a very entertaining, high-scoring ball game against the LA Lakers. The Kings got a 5-point win in overtime in that game. De'Aaron Fox scored 37. Was playing absolutely out of his mind, but he did pay the price, guys. He sprained his ankle late in the fourth. He managed to get through the game. He went back to the locker room, came back in. The ankle was still warm. He managed to get through the game, but tonight he is listed as out. The reason for this number being so high at -7.5. The Warriors, 3-1 so far in their season after losing their opener to the Phoenix Suns, have ran off 3 straight. Chef Curry has been playing absolutely out of his mind. He's hitting threes like they're layups. And the Warriors overall, guys, are rolling. I was wrong about the Warriors, at least so far in these first 4 games of the year. I didn't expect them to be this good, but Chris Paul is looking nice, guys. I got to admit, for his age, he's holding up very well. And the Golden State Warriors are looking sharp. The reason for the 7.5-point line, we know the Warriors are one of the strongest home teams in the league. In this game, guys, usually I like betting on teams that are missing a star player in the first game. Usually the rest of the players will rally around each other, pick things up, put forth a bigger effort. I'm going to take a shot here, guys, with the Sacramento Kings. I know it's not easy to pull the trigger on a game like this. The Warriors were also on the road for a couple of games. They're going to be headed back home. They might relax a little bit. For sure, they'll know that De'Aaron Fox isn't going to be playing. You never know. This does, usually I love playing these kinds of spots. The +7.5 is a little high, though. I got to admit, it is a point higher than I thought it would be. The 6.5 I did estimate with Fox being out. I'm going to take a shot here with Sacramento and the +7.5. And in the last game of the night, we got the Clippers taking on the Lakers in the Battle of LA. The Lakers currently 5.5-point home favorites. I had them favored by 3.5. Let's talk about the Clippers first. 3-1 so far in their first 4 games. Have looked very sharp in all their games. The only blemish, the loss against the Utah Jazz on the road. If you take that game out of the equation, the Clippers have looked sharp, scoring a lot of points, winning big. The Clippers, we all know, picked up James Harden in a trade. He was in the arena yesterday for the Clippers game against the Orlando Magic. They are going to be on the second night of back-to-back tonight. He's not expected to play just yet. Plus, the Clippers guys, the three players that were involved in the trade, Nick Batum, Martin Jr., and also Covington, will not be with the team, which means the Clippers are on the second night of back-to-back and don't have too many bodies for this game. This 5.5 point line also indicates that there will be some load management taking place. Who will it be? Kawhi Leonard or Paul George? It can't be both. There's a new rule this year in the NBA where teams cannot rest two superstar players at the same time. Somebody is going to have to play, but still, the Clippers are not going to have too many bodies on their roster just yet. The Lakers, 2-2 so far in their season, have had a tough schedule so far. The 2-2 record is actually not that bad. And I liked what I saw from the Lakers in their last game against the Orlando Magic. It was a very tough spot for the Lakers. The night before, they were in Sacramento, lost a tough one, a very disappointing loss to the Sacramento Kings in overtime. But in the second night of back-to-back, managed to squeeze out a 3-point win against an Orlando Magic team that is very tough. Young, they were rested. Lakers got the job done. Very impressive win for the Lakers. They are going to be good this year, guys. They do have a lot of depth, and they are playing well overall. The Clippers have dominated the series between these two teams in recent years. We all know the Clippers win almost every game that these two play against each other. Tonight's game is going to be a little different, though, I think. The Clippers don't have too many players, guys. If you look at the bench, Bones Highland even got moved into the starting lineup yesterday. The Clippers off the bench, who do they have? Norman Powell had a big game, 17 points. Other than that, the rest of the bench, guys, doesn't look too strong. The Lakers, we know, are one of the deeper teams in the league. I think they can take advantage of this spot right here and come away with a W. Let's take a risk here with the Lakers and the -5.5. I know it's scary, guys. The Lakers always lose to the Clippers. We know they always lose, but I think this is a good spot for the Lakers. They're different this year. I'm going to take them here with the -5.5. And this is what I got for you guys today on this Wednesday, November the 1st, and this big 13-game schedule. We broke each one of these games down, did our analysis, got our picks, and we are ready to roll. Of course, we're not going to be betting on every single game, 13 games. We are not degenerates, guys. I narrowed down my selections to about 4 or 5 games. I'm going to tell you guys which ones I am really looking at. Portland at Detroit. I think Portland has a good shot at coming through in that ball game. I kind of like them with the +3.5. New York, hopefully some players come back from Cleveland. We get a smaller number in New York. I think can double up those wins in the little home-and-home series. I'm also looking at the Hornets on the road against Houston. A lot of people are going to be looking at Houston for that bounce-back spot that they're due to get a win. I'm not convinced. I don't like these kinds of spots. I'm going to be watching Denver at Minnesota. I think it's going to be an entertaining ball game. And I'm also looking at Memphis against Utah. This could be my play of the day. Memphis with the +2.5. I'm really going to be looking at that, see what the number does closer towards tip-off. The Grizzlies can possibly get on the board. I'm going to narrow my selection, like I said, between these games. Now, if something else comes up, anything can come up from now until game time. I do this video many hours before tip-off. In my second video, guys, I will give you my play of the day, possibly plays of the day. Hopefully you guys tune in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't to get that notification when I come on. If not, I will see you again in tomorrow's video. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Good luck on your plays, and I will see you in the next video. Have a good one. Later.